Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great weekend and that you are enjoying Module 2 as much as I am. As you have seen, the idea of this module is to think about the approaches to learning skill development, both within the subject group and beyond, and how we can scaffold it across the year. Begin by taking a minute to reflect upon any of the activities that you carry out in your daily life, any simple activity, and think how can you break down the process into the specific skills that go into those daily activities that you undertake, such as shutting the door, or answering the phone, or tying a tie, tying a shoelace. And so naturally the invitation is to think and reflect. What are the most important skills for my students to learn each year of the program? And perhaps where do we start the process of ATL skill development? What is it that we need them to know and be able to do at the beginning of MYP Year 1? And that is the starting point. By deconstructing those essential skills that we think are essential for students to enter the program, and then build upwards in terms of what do we expect for Year 5, and how do we get them from where they are in day 1 to where we want them to go. That's a little bit the thinking process behind Learning Engagement 2 in this module. This would perhaps be a great thinking step to begin with our professional development within school, for teachers to think what is it that we need students to be able to do in the first year of MYP. And in this process, some generic core skills will appear that are essential across the subject groups. And it will be very important to plan strategies of horizontal planning to ensure that teachers can develop these skills in similar ways. The place to start is, of course, from principles into practice, the appendix that we have with the ATL skills that we can develop. And I think what is interesting is that instead of thinking, though there might be some skills which perhaps don't appear in the early levels, which we expect to develop when students become older, mostly it's going to be the same skills that students will develop throughout the MYP years, but they will develop them and practice them at increasing levels of complexity. And how will we know? Well, we will have the possibility of developing these skills and assessing these skills formatively throughout the learning experiences of the unit and the summative assessment task. So it's interesting to begin to think of planning kind of as a two-way process by which, on the one hand, we have horizontal and vertical conversations to establish kind of common or critical milestones for our skill development, but at the same time we have to make sure that we have the places within the planners for teachers to explicitly and implicitly develop these skills. And one of the wonderful things about thinking of self-assessment through the ATL development is the notion that confidence in classrooms will be built by comparing students to themselves. So we will identify milestones of development of ATL skills throughout the years. These will be related to the development of the objectives that we have within the subject group. But it's also very important for students to be able to self-assess their ATL skill development, as this is not high stake. And thinking in terms of the highest level of development is basically where students are at the sharing level, which is the form of self-regulation. Basically thinking that the aim of the ATL program within MYP schools is that students will be able to get their most important ATL skills on the self-regulated or the sharing level by the time they finish the MYP. So this is why it's very important to scaffold and to identify how are we going to make the bridges or ensure that students can reach this sharing level by the end of the MYP. And we were saying, though, it's very tempting to think that the development of ATL skills just happens because we naturally use skills implicitly and explicitly in our daily lessons. There is a lot of to be said for the notion that the ATL skill development should be planned explicitly by teachers. Now, this doesn't mean that because it's planned for, it doesn't necessarily have to be taught explicitly, right? It could also be taught implicitly through the development of learning engagements that perhaps are geared toward other objectives, but through their engagement, students will develop, practice, and enhance their ATL skills, right? Where can we find inspiration to begin to think about how to explicitly and implicitly embed the development of the approaches to learning skills? Just a friendly reminder that in the OCC there is an approaches to learning inquiry and service teacher support material. It is within the MYP core publication section of the OCC. And within the Approaches to Learning Inquiry and Service teacher support material, you will find a host of different resources, videos, screencasts, worksheets that can be downloaded, teaching ideas in order to make Approaches to Learning skill visible within the classroom. And there are some ideas that are for explicit teaching of the Approaches to Learning skills, and there are some that could be prone to being embedded within units of the subject group. So as we approach the culmination of Module 2 in the next couple of days, I just wanted to leave some questions for you to begin thinking, as the focus of Module 3 will be precisely on teaching and learning of approaches to learning skills, right? So do core generic ATL skills lend themselves more to explicit or implicit teaching? And what about the subject-specific skills that you identified in Learning Engagement 1 and 2? Do cognitive and affective skills lend themselves to explicit or implicit teaching? Why and how do you think that, that this is? And we'll come back to these big questions in the next module, but I just wanted them to kind of be left in the back of your mind as you approach the final learning engagement of Module 2. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the Module 2 learning environment. Thank you.